a vampire. It lives in the darkness and it sucks the life out of you. And fear does exactly the same thing. Fear lives in that deep, dark place in the back of your mind. And it's not like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, it's those things that, like those stress and anxieties that come out when, you're driving in your car by yourself, or you are woken up at night, thinking about, dreaming about whatever it is. And, honestly, these fears, they probably never will happen. They can't really hurt you, but they control your life.
Welcome to the Raquel Show. It's the beginning of the year, and I know that those that are listening have some goals they want to achieve, as well as play bigger in 2022. So what better way to start the year with someone whose thinking, resilience, and leadership is one of the best in the world. He's a great friend, a Navy SEAL, who's been a Navy SEAL for over 2 decades, turned into a successful entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, William.
Raquel, thanks for having me.
First of all, thank you so much.
With that introduction, I'm like, there's like an audience applause in the background. And I'm like, wow, who is this person that she's inviting?
It's you. And I just want to say thank you so much for your service. I know that being a Navy SEAL is not a job that you take lightly, especially when you're getting orders from the president. And there is a level of care, a level of mindset that you have regardless of whatever fears you may or may not have. So I'm just curious, are like Navy SEALs taught to not have fear?
No, absolutely not. What we learn is we learn how to do things really well, and we learn how to work as a team. There's still going to be fear. And I'll give you a little war story about fear. And sometimes our ego gets in the way, and maybe we should be a little more scared than what we project sometimes. So we were in Baghdad, I think 2010, 2007, maybe 2007. Yeah, 2007, I think. And we're going to a target, and I'm sitting in the back of a Humvee. It's like a pickup truck. And there's a big gunfight going over here. There's Army, special forces. And you see like explosions and like tracer fire going through the air. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Are we going there? That looks like a fun party. But we had another objective, something much more valuable that we were going after. And we turn the corner, and the gunfight is going on over in this like block of Baghdad. And I see a Iraqi police officer get on his phone. And, a lot of times people ask me, and I never answer the question about like shooting people or anything like that. But usually there's like sometimes where I'm like, maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have, and it just seemed weird. Like it was a little like I feel like I should stop him from doing that. And however I can do that. But I'm in the back of this like pickup truck style Humvee. And about 2 minutes after I see this guy make the phone call, a bomb blows up about 10 feet away from us, right directly behind us. And this was an EFP, explosive force penetrator. And so basically these are shape charges, and they cut through armored vehicles. They punch right through. And because we drive so erratically, different than any other force really out there, at night vision goggles. But at this time we were under lights, street lights, and we couldn't see the people shooting at us now, or the people like setting off these bombs that were like, no kidding, like 10 feet away. I'm like, I felt the heat from it. And I was like, so it was a shape charge. So it just like shot this projectile that just missed us. And it happened twice. And after the second one, in the truck that I was in, there were, 3 senior guys and 1 junior guy. This junior guy, it was his second deployment. And he's like, so fellas, what do you think about, should we maybe get down a little lower in the truck? And all three of us, senior guys were like, yep, that's a good idea. And so we all kind of, but yeah, that was, we certainly feel fear, but we take action based off that fear.
I love that. Regardless of like the fear, and that's really good to know that you guys still take action. And you talk about mindset a lot, and I've heard some of your interviews, and you've got this acronym for mindset. And I'm sure some of what you've gone through, like that story, had to increase, like you had to learn certain things about your mind and what you were exposed to. So talk to us a little bit about this acronym that you have when it comes to mindset?
So that acronym is NAKED. And when I say naked, I don't mean being physically naked. And I have a whole keynote that I give on this, but and hopefully we'll get to present that at one of your events. But really, it's about becoming your authentic self. It's oftentimes about taking your ego off and setting in the corner and exposing yourself and being a little bit vulnerable, because none of us, especially if you're a high performer, ever wants to feel vulnerable ever, because you feel like you need to achieve everything and you never show weakness ever in your life. And it took me a long time to figure that piece of it out. But really when I say my kind of tagline is get naked, which is me, is about taking action. And the acronym NAKED, the N stands for never quit. And when I say never quit, I don't mean like never quit bad habits or anything like that. I mean, or even never quit trying to get out of a bad relationship. I mean, if you tried to start something, if it was good enough to start, then it's good enough to finish. And there's some tools that you can use to get yourself there. And sometimes those tools are, I say if it was good enough to start, it was good enough to finish. So let's finish it. And if it was good enough to start, it's probably going to be really hard to finish. So let's figure out a way to actually get you there. And so I say to create small victories. And the way you do that is oftentimes you take this big thing. So I use Hell Week, for example, in SEAL training. It's 5.5 days of no sleep. You're cold, wet, and miserable the entire time. You've got people quitting here and there, and you're carrying these boats around on your head and carrying logs down the beach, and it just sucks. But there's one thing that's constant during Hell Week is they're going to feed you 4 times a day. So no matter what is going on in your life at that time, no matter how much it sucks, no matter how miserable you are, all you have to do is make it to that next meal. And you just won. You just got a small victory. So take your tasks for the day or for your life or for building this business into whatever it is, and break them up into bite-sized pieces. Bake them up just so you can make it to that next meal. And then you have a small victory. And the more of those victories that you have, the better you're going to feel about yourself and the more stuff that you're going to get done and the closer you get. Whether it's like 0.001% closer to your goal, you're still closer to your goal. You still made it one more step, one more meal. So that's what never quit is. It's about finishing really what you started. The A is accept failure. Failure's biggest lesson, the biggest teacher of my life. You can tell me how to do something. I still need to go figure it out myself on like what works and what doesn't work. And generally, I learned way more through failure than I do through success. So, and I also look at failure as like, you see like memes or whatever, where, the first step is like, gigantic. And then it's easier steps above that. I look at it a little bit differently. I look at failure as like a foundation. I look at failure as being those small steps that get you over that wall or the rungs of that ladder. So every time I fail, I learn, I change what I'm doing. Thomas Edison, and I've used this analogy for a while, he learned 10,000 ways to not create the incandescent light bulb. How many times have we failed one time and given up? 10 times and given up. He failed 10,000 times before he actually figured it out. So using that lesson, like he discovered ways to not do it. So he just got closer to discovering the way to do it. So when we're doing anything in life, business, leadership, whatever it is, failure is always an option, and it's actually the part of the process. So you look at failure and oftentimes when we have failure, we hide it. We try to hide it because we're embarrassed by it. You should hang your failures on the wall as a trophy. I learned that, and this way you don't have to. So, and that's one of the great things about the SEAL teams is when we go do a mission, we come back from the mission and we go over all the things that went right and all the things that went wrong. And so because we expose those failures, like what went right and what went wrong, we're able to change our tactics, techniques, and procedures so that we don't make those mistakes again. So you have to accept the failure, learn from it, and use that as your way forward. The K is to kill mediocrity. And really in this world that we live in, we're surrounded by mediocrity. I mean, technology has helped us find the path of least resistance, and we just stay on that path and we never do hard things and we never challenge ourselves. And I mean, you can get on your phone right now and order, ice cream, and it'll be at your house in 30 minutes or less. Not so much here in Hawaii, but it'll melt by the time it gets here. But so I don't quite have that level of technology here, but you get the point. It's about we're always looking for the easy way out, and that's evolutionary. But so the way that we kill the mediocrity in our life and don't let it consume us is we have to be competitive. And, I don't mean like go play flag football on the weekends or whatever. Although you can do that, you can compete with yourself in working out. You compete in kindness. You can compete in generosity. You compete in just like being a good person and like wave to someone and be a little bit friendlier than the other people around you. Because when you do that, you're going to change their life. You're going to change their day and give them a better idea of like, oh, maybe the world doesn't suck around me, because you don't know what they're going through. And the biggest thing is really to compete with yourself and compete with your ego, because your ego knows all those. It knows what drives you and what makes you want to quit. And so it knows exactly what to do to make you mediocre and to take that path of least resistance. So once you learn to compete against your ego, and sometimes it's just like getting up in the morning and not hitting snooze on your alarm clock. Like that's when it's a small victory and you're killing that mediocrity in your life. The E is expose your fear. And we talked about fear a little bit earlier. And oftentimes fear, in the SEAL teams, we turn fear into action, but there's this other fear. And I've certainly struggled with this, with my transition out of the military, is most of us have this fear that we keep locked down in the back of our mind in this deep, dark place that we don't like to share. We don't like to talk about. And I look at fear to be like a vampire. And a vampire, the reason I say that is a vampire lives in the darkness and it sucks the life out of you. And fear does exactly the same thing. Fear lives in that deep, dark place in the back of your mind. And it's not like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, it's those things that, like those stress and anxieties that come out when, you're driving in your car by yourself, or you are woken up at night, thinking about, dreaming about whatever it is. And, honestly, these fears, they probably never will happen. They can't really hurt you, but they control your life. And so a couple things that you can do is, like, let's just say you have a fear of public speaking. You go take a public speaking class or an acting class. You're going to be forced to speak in front of people. Maybe you were beat up or you have low self-esteem, beat up as a kid and you have low self-esteem. Go take a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class for a year. You're going to learn to fight someone in a safe environment, and you're going to learn a skill set, and you're going to expose those fears that other people aren't going to be able to bully you anymore, because you're going to change your mindset. And then, the one I like to talk about also is our friend Sharon. He likes to say that fear does not exist on paper. And, what he'll do is, if he's like, has all this stress and anxiety, he'll write it down with a pen and a piece of paper and not type it out on his phone. And then he reads it. And I've tried this and it works amazing. And you read it and you're like, that's really what's bothering me. That's the thing that's giving me all this stress and anxiety. And so you just expose that fear. And the way you kill a vampire is you expose it to sunlight. The way you kill your fear is you expose it the same way. You write it down on a piece of paper. You present it in front of other people. And it's not a one-trick pony. It's something that you're gonna have to do over and over. It's like working out. If you want to get strong, you got to practice. Go to the gym over and over. You want to be a faster runner, you have to do that. You have to continue to practice that. And the D is to do the work, which is really the culmination of everything together. You have to never quit. You accept failure. You kill mediocrity. You expose your fears. And that's by doing the work. And that's when I say get naked. It's about taking your ego off and taking action.
Oh my gosh, there is so much in getting naked. Who would have ever thought that naked could stand for all these things, right? Never quit, accept failure is the A. Let me see if I have that's right. Kill mediocrity is the K. Exposure to failure. Expose fear, right? Expose fear. Is that what it is? Then D is do the work.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. I love that, because I know that people that are listening are going, wow. And we all know that when it comes to failure, you said something that was really key. And I'm in agreement with you. Failure is only feedback. It allows us to take action even quicker. When we take action, we learn what worked, what didn't work, and how to pivot and how to make it better the next time, right? And over time, you kind of let go of fear of what scared you the most. And so when we talk about failures, I'm curious to know, what were some of your failures or your lessons about failure, whether it was in the military or you transitioning from, the military to being a successful entrepreneur?
Well, I've got a lot. Let's just talk about military. I have a tremendous amount of failures just in leadership, because I wasn't really taught how to be a leader in the military. Sometimes they just, you advance to a new rank and they shove you into a leadership position. and they maybe send you to like some leadership schools, and a lot of that stuff is kind of, you already know the answers to what they're asking you, and it doesn't really take into consideration like interacting with people or really the true problem solving that happens when you're in a leadership role. And so most leaders, and I have made this mistake, think that leadership is just telling people what to do. It is the opposite.
Mhm.
Leadership is, I mean, sometimes it is, but that's really about 2% of it. Really, leadership is about serving the people that work for you. It's about providing support. It's about giving them the tools that they need to go and accomplish the mission. So I have this analogy that I use and oftentimes leadership is not sexy. Like people want it to be sexy, and it's not. And I use this analogy. So when we're teaching a new leader, junior officer, or whatever, how to lead men in combat in a gunfight, for example, oftentimes I take the bullets away from that new leader who's in that leadership position. And the reason I do that is because they want to engage in the gunfight. They want to shoot and help eliminate the enemy. And when I learned this, I felt completely useless when I'm there on the battlefield and I was told, do not shoot. Your job is to look around. What is the enemy doing? What is your team doing? What's happening in the terrain around you? Now your job is to make a call to get you and your team safely out of that ambush that you're in. And, there'll be times where like everyone stops shooting, and maybe that's a time that you shoot. But if you wrap it into sort of the corporate world, you have people that work for you. Their job is to go do the marketing campaign. Their job is to do the sales call. Their job is to do all these other the op stuff. And your job is to stand back and provide direction. Tell them which way they need to maneuver based on what the battlefield, what the environment that you're working in what it actually applies. So by you not being engaged and looking down your sights and shooting at the enemy, you're able to stand back, look around, and have full situational awareness, and be able to maneuver your team to the best tactical advantage, so that you can outperform your competition.
Oh
So
my gosh, so good.
it took me a long time to learn that lesson, and that's a lesson that I teach. Lessons, on the entrepreneurial side, I didn't know how to be a business owner. They didn't teach me any of that in the military. So I've had a lot of ups and downs. I've wasted a lot of money on stuff, but again, those are failures that I've learned. Like, okay, you can't rely on this person. Maybe you need to be more engaged more in the weeds, and not just trust but verify that someone did something the way that you expected it to be done, and then give corrections on how to get it done. So there's a lot of lessons in there, and I don't think we have enough time to really go into too many specifics, but
Yeah, I love the lessons because I think we learn so much from lessons. And you said something that was really key for a lot of the CEOs that we coach and consult. And I love your example of how you took the bullets out, right? Because it is when we can actually look at a 30,000 foot view, we can be strategic. We could actually see and delegate responsibility. But when we're in the field and too close to it, we forget to look up, or we forget who's doing what. And I feel like that really relates to leadership or to CEOs today. The ones that lead the people really well are the ones that are not in the minutia, right? They're really casting the vision. They're really holding their leaders accountable to get their end result of what they're all working together towards for that company.
100%.
So I love that. And you started this company. You started a company, right?
Yep.
Very successful company. Let's hear about it.
Okay, so my company is Naked Warrior Recovery. We're CBD and some other supplements shoved in there as well. And the reason I started this company is, when I, kind of going back to this get naked mindset, I started Naked Warrior Recovery because I had a lot of baggage. I had a lot of ego that I was carrying around, and some of it was the ego from maybe baggage from my work, and some of it was, baggage from other people, toxic relationships, and things like that. And so I wasn't very healthy. I was pretty much drinking myself to sleep at night just to kind of turn this noise off. I talked about exposure fears, and I had a lot of fears. I had a big area in my mind. It was really consuming most of my mind. of all these thoughts that would just pretty much consume me, and I wasn't able to like get control of them or even turn down the volume. And so CBD, what I found is when I first tried it, I didn't notice anything right away. But what I noticed after about 30 days of taking it, what I noticed is maybe I slept a little better and maybe I was just a little less pissed off the next day. But I like to say that water boils at 210 degrees or 212 degrees, and I was living at 210 degrees. And over time of taking CBD, I probably went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 195 to 190. And I got out of that red zone where just the smallest trigger would set me off to my fuse just got longer. And also, you probably can't tell, but I'm 100% disabled through the VA, which really means I'm 250% disabled if you were to add all the things that are wrong with me up. And there's still some other things that I went back and looked and they didn't submit. So really, I'm probably closer to 300% disabled. But those aches and pains that I have on a daily basis, they're less bad. And that's what I noticed after about 30 days of taking the CBD. And then I ran out and I started getting closer to that boiling point again. I noticed like my trigger started getting, my fuse started getting shorter, pain started coming back. So I tried a different brand and I had similar results. So now I'm super interested in the CBD industry. I was at a business conference. I met someone in the industry and I was like, hey, I'm super interested in CBD. And she was like, so do you want to do A to B, B to B, or B to C? And I'm like, I want to do CBD. I don't know what those other alphabet letters you're talking about. And she's like, well, why don't you just start your own company? And I said, I don't know how to do that. And she was like, you're a Navy SEAL. Go figure it out. And I was like, oh, that's not cool. So she gave me my man card back and allowed me to be, and so I started looking into the industry. I found that it's incredibly dirty. It's still very Wild West. It's a very new industry. CBD only became legal federally December 20th of 2018 when they passed by the passing of the Farm Bill, which made hemp legal. So as I started digging into the industry, I found that, the FDA has done a ton of spot checks and they found that most of the companies, more than 70% of the companies out there aren't above board where they should be. And so the FDA has found that many companies either they don't have CBD in the product, they don't have the amount of CBD they say, or they have high levels of THC above that 0.3% legal limit from hemp. They have heavy metals, like high levels of heavy metals, mercury, arsenic, lead, things like that in the oil. And so I did my due diligence and I went out and I found suppliers that were the highest quality suppliers in the market. And I still look for, even higher quality suppliers today. And I haven't found any. So I'm confident that we have the highest quality CBD on the market. And so what even the biggest names that you might see in CBD that are like name brands, I believe that our quality is better because, they test the oil when it comes out of the hemp plant at an independent third-party lab. And then they produce it and they sell it. They sell the final product. Well, we test the oil in the beginning and then we test the final product to make sure that there was no contamination in the manufacturing process. So we do a little bit above and beyond what is required. And then we provide independent third-party lab testing results for every batch of product that we produce. So, part of our mission at Naked Warrior Recovery, number one, CBD it was a modality that helped me turn down the noise in my head. So I was, I didn't have to drink myself to sleep at night. It helped me get control of my mental faculties. It helped me like control those mental thoughts a little bit more. And that's really how I came up with the Get Naked mindset. I had to like actually be a little bit vulnerable and expose, my weaknesses. And that helped me have better self-talk. It helped me, really start to grow my business.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. And I want to say thank you so much for being vulnerable, for being transparent. I mean, you're hearing it from a Navy SEAL who has fears, who can't shut things down, like most entrepreneurs. And it's also why I decided to try CBD because we have a lot of things going on, especially right when we try to put go to bed, right? That's when like some of the creative ideas go. And this is where, you talked about our mentor, Sharon, where we brain dump or we release things. There's something about like writing it on paper or releasing things and brain dumping. And so I found CBD. And I've tried different products, believe it or not. And what I love about what William said is, number one, he knows what elite is because of being a Navy SEAL. And he was on this mission to find the best products that could help people, right? You guys have this mission to really help people, and you use your own stories. And so for those entrepreneurs that have never tried CBD, I highly recommend Naked Warrior Recovery. And so much that they have this one product that I'm actually really addicted to. And for those that are watching, it is their CBD energy drink. So I absolutely love it. And I drink it every day in the afternoon when I've gone through a lot of calls, a lot of strategy calls with my coaching clients. It gives me energy, but it also like relaxes me, right? And it keeps me focused for my next call. So I would definitely want you guys to check it out. If you guys are listening, if you guys are watching, check out Naked Warrior Recovery. And is there a website that they could go to? And we'll also put it in the show notes.
There is a website. So you can go to nakedwarriorrecovery.com, all one word. But because maybe people don't want to write naked in their search engine, I made it NW-recovery. If you don't put the dash in there, you're going to go to like Northwest Recovery, which is, I don't know, like drug and alcohol rehab. NW-recovery or Naked Warrior Recovery, all one word, will get you there.
Oh my gosh. Well, you definitely gave us a different definition today on naked. And we will not forget that. I definitely want to say thank you for being on the show. And when people listen to the show, we always talk about playing bigger in business and in life. So the question that I want to ask you is, what is one thing that you do to play bigger in business and in life?
Before I answer that, I just remembered that I didn't give you. So if you want to find out, if you want to read more about what Get Naked stands for, if you go to the website, the number 5, sealsecrets.com, you just put your name and email in there, and I'll email you a PDF. It's about 7 or 8 page PDF that really breaks down what, Get Naked is all about. And it, breaks down, I tried to like abbreviate it a bit here in the interview, but it gives you a little more detail. And so it's 5sealsecrets.com. And just to kind of give you one little story about that, is I shared this document with a buddy of mine who was having some problems with the CEO of this outdoor apparel company that he works for. And they had just gotten a big inject of VC capital. And so there was a lot of pressure to, they want their ROI, they want their, very quickly. And so the CEO didn't know how to present that to the team. And then my buddy was like getting all the pressure. And so when he had the meeting with the following day after I spoke with him, because I was like, just like, get in there and like figure out what your short, medium, and long-term goals are. And then you can prioritize and things like that. I was trying to give him like strategy stuff, but I also said, go check out, my 5 SEAL secrets. And I kind of talked him through them a little bit. So he printed them out, laminated them. He went into the CEO the next day, and he started the meeting with like, okay, Joe, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to perform at the level you want me to perform. He went in there and he was like, he threw his left his ego outside and was like completely vulnerable. And the CEO, it put him on his heels, completely on the, he's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why are you, one, saying that you're afraid, and number 2, being honest about it? And he's like, oh, my buddy shared this document with me, 5 SEAL secrets. He was like, well, can you share that with me? And he shared that with many other people in the company, and the company's done a little bit of a shift. And hopefully I can turn that into a speaking and coaching engagement in the very near future. But me thinking bigger, how do I play bigger? Really, I can just compete with my ego every day. You think that I like going and working out or doing stuff. I do, once I start. And, I bought a bunch of weights, and I have them right here in my house, and I can make every excuse in the book to not go and work out. And I've had to create, I have to set myself up for success. And, again, that's competing with my ego. I put my earpods in, and I just start playing gangster rap or whatever gets me all fired up. And I do that as I'm like getting my clothes on, and my gym is actually outside. And so as I'm like opening up like the barn doors and the other stuff, and like I'm like, that first good kind of heavy set. And then I'm like, okay, let's go, lift heavy, or, do squats or drag a tire around the neighborhood, or whatever it is that I do for my workout for the day, and swing kettlebells, whatever it is. And so that's what I have to do. I have to compete against that ego every single day. If I don't, then I'm going to be just, mediocre.
Oh
And
my
I don't want to
gosh.
do that.
You said it best. And I want to thank you so much for being on the show. If you've enjoyed this interview with William, please share it on Instagram, tag Naked Warrior Recovery. Is that right?
That's it.
We'll also put it in the show notes along with his 5 secrets PDF, because I definitely think you guys should all download that. We only gave you a snippet. There was so much information, and I think it's all going to benefit you guys as you guys go into 2022. You think bigger, you play bigger, and I appreciate having you on the show.
You get naked.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having you on the show. And I can't wait to have you at one of our events this coming year.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.